محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا وينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. This ayah is actually the longest ayah in the Quran. It's one full page, and it's all concerned about debt. So Allah Azza wa Jal, first He expected people to give each other to run their business. So if they are in need, either you give them as a charity or zakah or both, or you can lend them money, and you have to sign documents that you lend them money, and it has to be witnessed. And what is banned is to lend money and charge interest. So here the ayah, it's the first probably among the Arabs that loans has to be documented and witnessed. So Allah Azza wa Jal said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا تداينتم بدين إلى أجل مسمى فاكتبوه. And Allah Azza wa Jal here addressing the believers, or you who believe. If you give loans, if you take loan from somebody, if you give loan to somebody, إذا تداينتم بدين, which is a loan, إلى أجل مسمى. So Allah Azza wa Jal expected the loan to be dated. So a fixed loan for a predetermined term. It's the open-ended loan which is not actually encouraged. So Allah Azza wa Jal here is saying that if it is a loan to a predetermined ajal, فاكتبوه. So you have to write down the loan. Many people actually are not practicing this ayah, and they fall into a lot of difficulties and problems. And this is encouraged even between family members. Even if you give somebody money, small amount or big amount, you better write down and have it witnessed. Why? Who is benefiting from the document? The one who gives the loan, or the one who received the loan? The one who received the loan. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, why?
Because he's a weaker person. He's the one getting the loan. So it's for his own protection to make sure that it is documented. So and again, if it's being documented, at least you'll have less pressure from the
Lender.
who loaned the money. And also it will encourage him to try to fulfill his promise, to make sure that he gets the money for the time.
A responsibility, and he will make part of his plan to give back the loan. So he will program himself that he has to finish from the loan in so and so time. So whatever he gets, he will be paying off the loan. While the one who gave the loan is out of his hand, has no control. That's even if he has the document and he can go to court, and it's a long process. While the one who received the loan is actually the important one to plan to save and give back the loan, and get a second loan and the third loan. There was a story my teacher used to tell us that, somebody came and asked for a loan from his friends, and a coin, a dinar, gold dinar, and he said, it's by the fountain. There's a fountain in the middle of the courtyard. He said, by the fountain there, on the edge of the fountain, there is a gold dinar. Go and take it. So he took it, and the term passed, and he came back to pay back the dinar, and he said, leave it in the fountain. So he left it. The second time he wanted the dinar, and he said, okay, it's in the fountain. And he went and took it, and he came, returned the dinar. He said, okay, put it on the edge of the fountain. And the third time he took the dinar, but he didn't bring it back. So he came the fourth time. He said, can I borrow a dinar? He said, by the fountain. He went there. He didn't find anything. He said, there's nothing there. He said, if you brought it back, you would have found it. So obviously that will encourage people to keep lending. Now, people now, they are not lending, especially in third world countries. Why is that? Full stop.
Because the currency weakens
Very quickly.
foreign
Yeah.
currency and
Even bank, they're not lending. And imagine in Turkey, the interest rate is 50%. 50%. Why? Because people are not actually saving. They're going and exchanging their money for gold or for the dollar and foreign currency. So they want to protect their currency. So they're giving 50% interest. At the beginning, Erdogan was against giving high interest. But then what made him lose the value of his lira, the Turkish lira?
his foreign currency currency they'd taken loans, the debt their country had were in foreign currency, dollars and other currencies.
They take loans in
Foreign
currencies.
not their own currency.
Yeah.
And so when the currency value drops, their debt becomes a lot higher because they have to change the currency to dollars or euros or another currency. So that increases their debt burden.
Yeah, half the fact. But what happened in Turkey in particular, there's something called euro dollar. That doesn't have anything to do with the US dollar. It has nothing to do with the petrol dollar. So you have petrol dollar, you have euro dollar, and you have US dollar. And they expanded their industry quite fast and quite widespread there, especially buildings. And they built a lot of buildings. And when I went to the countryside in outside Istanbul, there's a lot of buildings that are not sold. There's no equipment. There's the same happened in China as well, and companies went bankrupt. Because if you build building and you don't sell it, then you borrowed a lot of money and you are not making profit. So you took the loan, you don't have money coming because you didn't sell all these flats and buildings and things, and you stop. You want to buy dollar by whatever cost to pay off the loans, and the dollar became more expensive, and the lira came down again and again and again, and especially when you also have difficulty exporting as well. You're not getting foreign currency, and you have still you have debt to pay, and you need to buy the dollar by any means to pay off your debt. It's the same now happening in Egypt.
Yeah,
But Egypt is reluctant to let the value of the Egyptian pound floated. They keep it under control. They only exchange a pound for 40 sterling for 40 Egyptian pounds. In the market, 70. Somebody told me 85.
Yeah, I just spoke to a friend of mine in Egypt yesterday, and I mean I was in Egypt 10 years ago. In Egypt, £1 was 10 Egyptian pounds.
Yeah.
And and now he said to me that he's gone. He said in the market, the banks, they're not giving you any foreign currency. They don't issue foreign currency in the banks, so you can't buy any currency. And that's why obviously people are going to the black market.
Yeah.
And then it's twice the price there. Even the dollar's about 75 Egyptian pounds.
It depends on where you and who is in desperate to buy. There's this Ahmed Bouabiji came. He said he sold it for 85 pounds, the sterling. And my brother said it's around 70 pounds now, like what you said. And so they have the same trap. They fell in the same trap, and they don't get, especially now with the Suez Canal is not passing much shape, and they are not producing, they're not selling then but the borrowing killed them, because they borrow money to make projects, unsuccessful projects. They landed with a loan. They didn't sell, they didn't make profit.
They built a new capital in Egypt. I mean, they built a whole new capital city. So, I mean, that's and again, obviously, people are still staying in Cairo because that's where their livelihoods are, the businesses are. They're trying to get people to move away from Cairo.
The Quran actually consider the gold and silver as the money. And if you give a loan in gold or silver, and you get your loan back. If you give a loan in dollar or Egyptian pound or Turkish lira, then you are likely to lose the value of your money. So what happened? They stopped lending, and they will only lend you a dollar, which they, at least they are still trusting the dollar to keep reasonable value. But here I'm talking about the loan. You give a loan of whatever it is, whether it's gold or silver or grain or resin or rice or whatever, you have to write it down. And whatever you lend, you get back, no extra interest. So that will keep the economy going, and people will carry on lending. وَلْيَكْتُبْ بَيْنَكُمْ كَاتِبٌ بِالْعَدْلِ. So there should be a third party who is writing the loan. And كاتب بالعدل, the one who is known to write, knowing the justice and knowing the rules and knowing the market, knowing the conditions. Usually wording of the loan is important as well. Somebody went on a holiday and he married somebody in Italy and had witnesses, the two waiters in the hotel. And the two waiters, when it came back and he died and his wife was demanding the inheritance, then they went to fetch these two witnesses. They don't exist anymore. So even the katib, Allah Azza wa Jal wanted to have a katib who writes in the right way, in the right matter and justice, and he is like more official. In Syria, we have anything you go to katib al-adl, they call it, the one who writes, and he is qualified and he is observing justice, and he write down any transaction.
It's notar, call it notar, I think. Notar, like notar.
Notar.
كاتب العدل. But what the rules like to have the كاتب العدل? يكتب بينكم كاتب العدل. What's made? Which specification should be this person, or because it doesn't exist like back in old days, like
Yeah, these days you can hardly find katib adl, katib who will write.
Write. Like not a lot of people that can write.
They actually in court they have a special job called katib adl, and he's appointed according to his qualifications and study, blah blah. He's he has to go through a vetting and so he is. And then the court itself will accept his signature, even if he resign and goes somewhere else. It's official signature. It's accepted that he'll go to the record. Yes, was
Notary.
Yes.
Notary.
Okay, they have that, and they're the ones that can
English.
determine
English, you
and
mean?
they can sign documents and they can do the transaction.
Yeah. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing is no republic nowadays. They are the people who do that. In Pakistan as well, there's like the stamp paper, which you have to go and get, and the people who actually sell them, they are the ones who are actually trained to write.
And appointed by the government.
Yeah, so they have got their own specific language, so they would use their own language, which you can't even. I mean, I can't write that.
Yeah, the jargon used has to be accepted legally and can stand in court. So Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't want like anyone can come and write. You have to actually choose who is qualified to write. And ولا يأبى كاتب أن يكتب كما علمه الله. The katib, the one who will write, should not refuse to write as he was taught by Allah Azza wa Jal, as the knowledge came to him. فليكتب وليملل للذي عليه الحق وليتق الله ربه. So he has to write, but the one who is taking the loan has to dictate, and the one who is giving the loan also present and dictate and make sure that it is written correctly. And he should fear Allah Azza wa Jal, be mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal, and should not write in a way to belittle the right of the lender or the borrower. So sometimes the jargon, the very famous jargon written in United Nations Resolution 242 back in 1967 when Israel occupied the West Bank and Golan Heights and Egypt. They've written it in English that Israel must come out of lands occupied on 1967. The Arab who were there, having very poor knowledge, it seemed, with English, they didn't insist all the lands. We'll give you a couple of square here, a couple of square there, and we'll be fulfilling the 242 resolution. And problem has been there since 1967, never been solved. And Israel keep refusing to go out of the land occupied in 1967. So the Katib Bil-Adl, he wasn't writing injustice. He wasn't writing fearing Allah. They are structured it in a way. And what made me wonder why most of these resolutions actually written by the English ambassador. They're not written by the American for some reason. Most of them, you say, the British constructed this resolution. And have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I was discussing it a few days ago.
Right, okay.
People, and then
yeah.
They mentioned that. So having this debate that, okay, there's a document there, but, who's issued the document? What did they have to issue the document?
And then
use that document to justify what's been going on because, the people that issued the document don't have the right to issue the document in the first place.
Yeah, and they issued the document knowing the language, knowing the ins and outs of the language, and they could, if there is a dispute, they know you get nothing, or you have something, but you don't get your right. So this is what Allah said, وَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهَ رَبَّهُ. He must fear Allah when he is writing, because you should write in a jargon which protects the lender and the borrower at the same time. And do not وَلَا يَبْخَسْ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا. Do not secretly, indirectly take away some of the values of the loan. Now, if you want to write a loan now, there's a lot of economy knowledge need to be known, and you need to know about the country's future, blah, blah, blah. When I gave a loan to my brother, build his flat, we wrote the loan, converted the money into ounces of gold and wrote, you owe me this 10 ounces of gold. So there's no dispute. It's known internationally how much the ounce of gold and the weight and the purity and whatever. وَلَا يَبْخَسْ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا. Especially when they write about loans, agricultural loans, and the type of grain, the type of rice, the type of... I came across basmati rice is 170 a kilo, isn't it? 160, 170 a kilo. And there is other rice which is, I came across, 52 pence a kilo. It's similar to basmati rice, and if you buy it, it's not actually much difference.
Long grain rice?
Long grain, but this one similar exactly to basmati, but it's 52 pence. It's like we've been trying to make some sushi, and a kilogram of sushi rice, it's £4.20. There is similar jasmine rice, which is a sticky rice when you cook it, and it's the same like the basmati, like the sushi rice, Egyptian rice could be. We didn't find it in the market, but it's same. I made it 2 days ago. It's the same, exactly the same like the sushi rice. So the one who is writing the loan, especially when the loan is you lend him your car, you lend him your tools, you lend them. So this is that it has to be an expert, and he has to fear Allah Azza wa Jalla, and he has to make sure, like when you borrow like animals, when you borrow animals, and in Islam there's rules that you give back the animal and you give something on top. So you as a present, like a gift. فإن كان الذي عليه الحق سفيها أو ضعيفا أو لا يستطيع أن يمل هو فليملل وليه بالعدل. If the one who's supposed to take the loan and give it back is feeble-minded and or weak or cannot understand the rules, or he cannot even speak, أو لا يستطيع أن يمل, فليملل وليه, the one who is in charge of his affair, the one, the guardian over his affair, he should himself. So you could borrow, but you could borrow from your like, cousin who is weak or feeble-minded or something, and you need to borrow to buy a house or get something, for the family. So you have to use, again, the guardian has to be also just, and he should dictate, or tell the writer what's actually the transaction for and how much and when it starts, when it finishes. واستشهدوا شهيدين من رجالكم. Now استشهدوا, ask 2 witnesses, and شهيدين in Arabic, shahid is a witness. 2 shahidan or shahidain here. But Allah Azza wa Jalla used the word shaheed, shahidaini, to emphasize that it has to be somebody who is truly responsible person. He is prepared to come to court or come and tell what he witnessed for and things. And min rijalikum, from among your men. فإن لم يكونا رجلين فرجل وامرأتان. If there are not, there's no 2 men, then there should be a man and 2 women. And Allah Azza wa Jal said the shahidaini, the witnesses, has to be vetted by you. ممن ترضون من الشهداء. So you might not agree that so-and-so witness. You want to choose somebody really different because this witness is wishy-washy and woolly, or he doesn't respond when you call him or whatever. So you need to have to say your acceptance to the shaheed, whoever he is. And the reason for 2 women, if one of them forgets, then the other one will remind her. And the scholars say that most likely at that time, and most of the time, most of the countries, women are not really in the market, in the actual market, where things are constructed to buy and sell, and the prices and the condition of the market, and who's going up and what's going down, and who is likely to be in the right commodity, which is the wrong commodity, what description you give when you lend, let's say, lend a car. If you hire a car, lend a car, somebody to drive it, and what you expect from the car to perform, and how the condition to come back, and what's the mileage due to the quality of the car and the price of the car. And there's many things in the market many women don't know how. Give an example. In 5 years ago, I was listening, and they said there's only 1 professor in mathematics in Britain. And why is that? So they're probably not keen to follow mathematics and follow the market transaction and things. And also, if you take it to the way Imam Abu Hanifa looked into marriage, he said the woman must accept to marry by voicing her agreement if she is in the market. She goes out and meets people, and she's working, and she's meeting, A, B, and C, and she knows different between men and their ropes and their conditions and blah, blah, blah. He insists on her making the decision, saying yes. While Maliki, he was still in the opinion that she must keep quiet. If she say anything, then the marriage is not valid. Because he lived in Medina, and Medina was not, the women in Medina were not like, business women. When Shafi'i went to Egypt, he found that women actually work, and they go to the market, they go to the field, and they look after cows and look after the crops and things. So they are more educated and they're able to make decisions. So when it comes to the witnessing, if you take some scholars, they might say, yeah, if there is a woman who is really able to, and she's in the market. Now the head of the IMF is a woman. The head of the European Bank is also a woman. And the head of the European community is a woman. So there's far much more women now who knows the ins and outs of things. And the Treasury Secretary in the state is a woman. So you might have, when you come to the opinion of the scholars, saying because they are in the market, they might have the ability to sign contract by themselves. They might, say, yeah, you might have one woman as a witness. Now,
I mean, I understand that that's what they are trying to extrapolate. I mean, they're trying to, the scholars, but because it's in the Quran, we will still stick to the same rule. If there are not two men, there will have to be two women. Doesn't matter if they know them, because it's in the Quran.
Yeah, you're saying because in the Quran it has to be respected and followed. To the yeah, I'll show you something in the Quran. ولا تعضلوهن أن ينكحن أزواجهن. Women, وإذا طلقتم النساء فبلغن أجلهن فلا تعضلوهن أن ينكحن أزواجهن. So Allah Azza wa Jal here banning women from marrying their husbands. Now, if you come to Shafi and Hanbali and Malki, they take the hadith لا نكاح بدون ولي وشاهدي عدل ومهر, that the wali, the guardian, must agree to let his daughter marry. While Abu Hanifa took this ayah in the Quran, he said, according to the ayah, they can marry themselves to their husbands. And it is a contract, and Allah said it in the Quran that they ينكحن أزواجهن إذا تراضوا بينهم بالمعروف. So it's known from the scholars that sometimes they take the hadith to expand the meaning of the Quran, and sometimes they take the Quran to overshadow the hadith.
Yeah, no, but I understand. Yeah. So if there is something in the hadith which kind of goes with it or explains it, that's a different
thing. And when it comes to witness, there is a specialty in witnessing. There's some people who will, like, the scholars will only take the women's witness in the women issue. You don't go and accept a man to tell you what happened, how many days the menstruation period will last and things. And it's not, you can't imagine that, yes, you will take the opinion of a man. It has to be a woman. So when you look into it from specialty point of view, then there's time when only women are allowed to witness. When you take like proving Ramadan, seeing the Hilal, one woman can make the whole nation fast Ramadan, because it's only accepted if she's a Muslim woman and balanced and practiced. So when you look into it from specialty point of view, you can shut people up, because it's not actually witnessing like anything else. Witnessing, when it comes to witness about illnesses and diseases, and you need to get an expert witness. You can't take to court non-medical to go and witness on medical issues. When I was attending a coroner court, I was a psychiatrist, and there were a physician there, and we were negotiating whether the patient committed suicide or he died because of unforeseen circumstances. And because I had good medical background, I managed to override the physician, and the coroner accepted my view that it is death by mistake. And I showed at that time the whole clinical presentation in casualty, which the physician tried to say because he died because of the of suicide. And the difference between died because of suicide and died because of unforeseen circumstances, millions, the millions of pounds will be gained or lost. So the expert at that time was very, very important. So this is another answer when we come to people who object that two women. Why two women? But two women in that specialty, only women in that specialty, only doctors in that specialty, only farmers in that specialty. Yeah.
Is that the reason why it's two women? Is because then they can at least they can see each other, they can talk to each other about what they've witnessed. Whereas a woman wouldn't want to go and see a man to discuss what they've witnessed together.
No, not this. No, not this. Because Allah Azza wa Jalla said if one of them, because if you come and talk about mortgage and which mortgage to take, and bring a husband and wife, most likely the wife will not negotiate which mortgage.
About the debt from somebody's taking, or someone's borrowing money, or any
Yeah.
other item.
Yeah, the debts, the borrowing money,
As a witness.
easy. If I borrow 10 ounces of gold and you buy back 10 ounces of gold. If I borrow, like we were talking about rice, if I borrow 10 tons of rice because I have an order and I want to borrow from you and bring it back, the type of rice I borrowed from you, it has to be exactly the same type I return, because could be, like we said, a kilogram is 52 pence and another 160 pence. The third one is 4 pounds 20 pence. So you need somebody expert in this. So if she is expert, it's unlikely that she will be really heavily involved in the market in general, although there's always the odd one out. But you don't build rules on the odd one out and the rare circumstances. And when I was in hospital, most of my nurses prefer to be at home, not to have a job. And they are forced because there's big mortgage, there's a lot of expenses, they want to go on enjoyable holiday, they want to buy fashion designer clothing, whatever. So they come and work. But majority might not even work. So the rules here put by the creator 1400 years ago and still valid now. You look into it. But you need, when you talk to people, you need to talk about specialty. We are talking about specialty. If you are stuck and the only person who can be this only woman who was there and qualified as being just witness because she knows what she's witnessing for, she knows the ins and outs, then yes, might be this is the only one. So you could,
But there is a situation. Maybe the next topic is about when you are a traveler, you want to borrow from somebody.
Yeah, it will come in a minute. Yeah. ولا يأبى الشهداء أن إذا ما دعوا. You shouldn't refuse to come when you are called to come and say that yes, I witnessed that and I was there when they wrote the contract. Now I passed the time, which is 45. This is one ayah, but only the third of the ayah. So do you want me to stop and go to the subject, to the topic?
This is quite interesting.
Of Qushayri, or carry on with the ayah? You carry on with the ayah, inshallah. And وَلَا يَأْبَ الشُّهَدَاءُ إِذَا مَا دُعُوا. They shouldn't refuse to come. But also, you shouldn't call them 10 times, 20 times, coming, no, come again, come again, and come again. This is why people run away from being witness, because they don't want the hustle of being called again and again. Some witness also don't want to witness because they get intimidated. If you don't witness this, I will do this and whatever. So it has to be always really structured correctly.
Is it here wala ya'ba? It's mean it's forbidden, isn't it?
Wala ya'ba, should not
So
refuse. Should not refuse.
Not shouldn't. Should be they must not refuse. So it's mean it's like they have to, they must to do it. Yeah.
Obliged to do
They
it.
don't have like no choice, yes or no.
Once there are witnesses,
Because he used here.
yes, two is to the first time to come and witness, and obviously he might say, I'm not expert, I might not, whatever, but if he come and witnessed, if he is called back to confirm that yes, he was there and he witnessed, then he shouldn't refuse. When at the beginning you can ask somebody else, but once he has been the witness, you are bound to go and ask him.
Now here, ولا يأبى الشهداء إذا ما دعوا, is it mean after this?
After, yeah.
After
if one of the partners,
so these are two witnesses.
if the
these are two witnesses who they already witnessed.
They are not called witnesses until they witnessed.
Yeah, so exactly.
So they witnessed, and 10 months later, the deadline came, and borrower refused to accept that he has to pay this and this, and this wasn't. And usually, if it is pure gold or something, will be easy. But saying if he borrowed oil, if he borrowed grain, if he borrowed, some could borrow sometime the ox, to use in the farm. So there's a lot of lending goes on in between the traders. وَلَا تَسْأَمُوا, so they should not refuse. Later he will say وَلَا يُضَارَ كَاتِبٌ وَلَا شَهِيدٌ. You shouldn't put pressure on the katib, on the writer, and you shouldn't put pressure on the witness. Oh, you must come. I'm out of town. Oh, you have to come back to the town. I'm actually, I have wedding to, cancel the wedding. Don't put pressure on, unreasonable, pressure on the witness. ولا تسأموا أن تكتبوه صغيرا أو كبيرا إلى أجله. Oh, it's only £2,000. No, you better write it down. I use that with my wife. She received from me, I received the cash, and give her the cash or something, and there's a book, sign here. We go forget. Yeah, sign it, and whatever written is fixed. Whatever remembered flies away. ذلك أقسط عند الله is more, even if it's small amount, and for a short period, still write it down. ذلك أقسط عند الله وأقوم للشهادة. It's better in the eye of Allah Azza wa Jal, and more make the shahada more structured and stand. So all loans will stand, will be presented to court unless there's witnesses and it's written. وَأَدْنَى أَلَّا تَرْتَابُوا. That's another reason why. So you wouldn't be, did I say 100 or did they say 200, or was it, to pay me in May or July or 29th of February? It's like, yeah.
My question is, what happens when the witnesses die? Then there happens to be a dispute between the debtor and the person who loaned the money or whatever. What happens in that situation? What do you do if there are no witnesses?
If it's written by Katib al-Adl or notary, you call him notary. Yeah, if it's written there officially and signed officially by the government, and the witnesses were vetted by the government, by the department, accepted, that will stand if they die, because these witnesses were accepted as genuine witnesses. When you come to dispute the transaction, now the government will step in that this document is accepted as valid by the government, being officially officiated. So this is why shouldn't write document just by anybody. Many of the solicitors who tell us to write our wills, they will say, don't write a will because you bought the form from the stationery book shop. Get it vetted by a solicitor, and the solicitor you will be amazed. Few phrases may mean differently to different people. So you might find that, rights are lost because of the jargon accepted in the country. Like tenancy in common or joint tenancy. What's the difference between the two of them? Have you heard of it?
Joint tenants, when more than multiple people contribute money to buy particular, maybe a property or something.
If you have a house, joint tenants, you and your wife will be joint tenants, and half. The house is half. if you are tenancy in common, not joint tenancy, you could have 55% and she has 45%. People who are paying high tax, he has 1% of the house and his wife have 99. So whatever rent they get from the house, she doesn't pay tax, so she doesn't pay anything on the rent, and he pays for the 1%. So when you come, if there's a divorce, joint tenancy, she has half the house, so you paid all the mortgage all the time or not. If tenancy in common, then they will say, oh, she has only 30% or 20%. That's it. She can't take half the house or all the house. So small jargon could make a difference, a lot of difference. So when it comes to the will, again, the thing is that people change mind, change heart, and divorce and marry somebody else, and this somebody else has children, and then she has children from previous marriage. Then the person die. Who takes the money? The children from the first wife or the second wife. When it comes to the pension, and he has pension when he's married with his wife, and she's to take half the pension. Then he divorces her half the way through, then she's left without pension. But if he dies, his pension goes, and she doesn't get. Usually, if he dies when he's married to her, he will have half the pension. So there's a lot of legal jargons you need to be really aware of, and you need to. And this is what Allah insisted here, writing and no doubt created. Unless here the exemption not to write إلا أن تكون تجارة حاضرة تديرونها بينكم فليس عليكم جناح إلا تكتبوها. Here, when you have a market running their businesses, and then a customer come to me and he wants 10 kilos of coffee, and my neighbor have delivery today. I didn't have delivery. I have only 2 kilos. Then I say, can you lend me 8 kilos? He will send you 8 kilos. You don't have to write it down. Just, take the 8 kilos and sell it to them. And then you have delivery tomorrow and you give him back the 8 kilos. So they don't need, because you're accepting these transactions. Yes, you might write, in the back of your hand or something, so that to run the businesses, keep running in the market, and usually active market. Sometimes they borrow from each other gold. Sometimes they borrow even money. Can I borrow some money and things? And they have their method to keep in their, make small notes that he owes me, and they usually pay back. In America, when Lehman Brothers borrowed money from the banks, and he's supposed to give the money back the next day, he wrote in the books that he sold the collateral, that he mortgaged something worth 250 billion. He mortgaged it, and they gave him the 250 billion, but he wrote in their book, sold it. The next day, say, where's the 250 billions? They didn't have the 250 billions, so they couldn't pay it back, and they couldn't prove they sold it, so they collapsed. And the whole market collapsed. In America in 2008, the whole world was about to collapse. So one cheat, this is why, this ayah is very important on the highest level in USA, in America, across the globe, and on personal level between you and your wife and your children and things. But if it is now a small trade between traders in the market, that's fine if you don't write it. But Allah wanted us وَأَشْهِدُوا إِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ. Also, when you sell, witness, because no, I didn't sell you this, you sold me this, and no, I didn't buy this. And so this is I bought a car, and the guy who bought it through this guy didn't give me a sales document. Now there is an issue with Mercedes that they need to pay us compensation, and they asked me, where is the sales transaction paper? And I went back to him, oh no, I haven't got it. And so it's a loss of could be good compensation.
£10,000.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But the car in my name, but there's no sales transaction documents. And
What about the actual? Because the issue you guys, I mean, even the logbook.
yeah, the logbook, my name there, and
prove that somebody else owns the car.
yeah, and the name who sold me the car, but they wanted the receipt, that the transaction receipt. They give you invoice, and receipt. They didn't give me that invoice. There was some, so even when you buy and sell, get witnessed. ولا يضار كاتب ولا شهيد. That's what we said earlier. You shouldn't put any pressure on the one who wrote the transaction and the one who witnessed it, neither by the lender or the borrower or the buyer or the seller, and should not drag them again and again and again, because you can't finish the dispute, because this will make people refuse to witness and say, no, forget me, I don't want to witness them. So you neither have to put pressure on them, whether he's the writer or the shaheed, the shahid. Still, again, Allah said shahid. He didn't say shahid. We all say shahid in Arabic, but shahid stressed that he has witnessed many times, and his personality proved to be intact, and his mind is intact, and his balance is intact, and he's just witness. So he became shaheed. He witnessed things. Shaheed in Arabic has the other noble meaning of somebody died, shaheed, martyr for the sake of Allah. So it's witness here is not a martyr. ولا يضار كاتبا ولا شهيد وإن تفعلوا, if you do put pressure on them, فإنه فسوق بكم. You're splitting away from the religion, and you have to be mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal. فاتقوا الله واتقوا الله. You always, Allah Azza wa Jal, you have to be in your mind. Like I was trying to say today in the khutbah, that Allah Azza wa Jal reading your thoughts. He knows what you are thinking internally, whether you actually vocalized your intention or not, whether you did say out loud what you're thinking of, whether you are not. So Allah knows about it, and He knows what you are planning. So wattaqullah, be mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal, fear Allah Azza wa Jal, and Allah Azza wa Jal will teach you, will get you guided to the right path. وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ, and Allah will teach you. وَاللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. Allah Azza wa Jal is all knowledgeable about all things. And the next ayah is actually when you are traveling. وَإِن كُنْتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ. That's the question. وَإِن كُنْتُمْ عَلى سَفَرٍ. If you are traveling and you don't have anyone to officially to write, you don't have any government establishment or any known way to witness, إِن كُنْتُمْ عَلى سَفَرٍ, and you can't find a writer, then you have to mortgage something, فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضًا, and that has to be given. You have to have the control over the collateral. This is why the bank here will not lend you money until they have a charge put against your property, officially put. So be careful, because somebody might go and put a charge against your property, especially if you have like a property who you rent. And we had a problem created because we bought a house for the mosque, and somebody went and put a charge on it that it belonged to them. But it's not. It doesn't belong to them. It belongs to people who bought it. It took us around 3 years to solve the problem. So this is, you need to be careful, because the letters, usually the land registry will send you a letter to the address of the property. Is that true that this guy wants to put a charge on your property? And if you hired it to somebody, he might or might not pass the letter to you. And if he's the one who is the sinister person, he definitely will not pass it, and he might take your home. So if you have a property and you let it out, you better tell land registry that any correspondence had to be sent to my home address. And you tell them your home address, and there's quite a large, big document you need to fill, and they will ask for many things before they accept. Now, solicitors are doing it straight away. This property owned by so and so, and he lives in different address, and they put the address on the deed, and that's new, wasn't there before. 10 years ago wasn't there. It was like, you can. This is what led to many people stealing other people's houses because they claim that it's my house, and the correspondents come to the house. They don't know the owner, where the owner lives, because he didn't tell them. So this is rihan maqbuda. You have to take a mortgage. You have to mortgage something, to take the loan. فإن أمن بعضكم بعضا فليؤدي الذي اؤتمن أمانته وليتق الله ربه. That has to be, because sometimes what you mortgage could become more expensive than the mortgaged. The house might go. Let's say if you borrow some money and you mortgage some gold, and you want to take back your £100,000, but the gold you mortgaged now it's nearly 200,000. So so what are you going to do? He might say, no, I don't want to give you, give me a mortgage. So this is what Allah Azza wa Jal said, فَإِنْ أَمِنَ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا فَلْيُؤَدِّ الَّذِي اؤْتُمِنَ أَمَانَتَهُ, because that's now you are trusted on this mortgage which you have received. I had to take a loan from somebody, and I gave him 6 ounces of gold as mortgage. And then he phoned me and he said, I want my money back. Can I sell the ounces? I said, yeah, sell it if you are really desperate. I didn't actually check whether the ounces he sold were exactly the same amount of money. If it was less, he would have come back to me. But if it was more, he should come back to me. He didn't come back to me either. So what came to my mind that, I didn't check and it passed and things, but I'm sure, if I check the amount of money, the price of gold, because the price of gold always go up, in a way. It goes up and down, and it always, if you look into the graph, is going that way over years. But if you check it over days, it might go back and up and down, but within small range. But here, this is Allah leaving it to your belief that you should be really trusted for whatever they mortgage to take the loan and give it back. And sometimes they might not give it back, especially when the price goes up. If it's mortgaged, like jewelry of his wife or something, that does happen. Or the car goes down. You mortgage your car and the car goes down by a month. Every month the price goes down. And then when you come to pay, shall I give him back the loan or leave the car? Sometimes the car will not get as much money equal to the loan. So this is why Allah mentioned this in the ayah. وَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهَ رَبَّهُ. So the one who take the mortgage has to be fearing Allah far much more than the one who gave the loan. Both they have to be mindful of Allah, because both, either the mortgage could go up in price or the money could go down in price. This is why last week we were saying that when you borrow banknotes, you have to give the value of the banknotes. So when you come back, as the inflation is 4%, and you borrow £100, you come back next year and you have to pay him £100 plus £4, because the value of his money dropped by inflation. So if the Muslims were observing this, then lending will carry on. But they're not observing this. In countries where inflation is 50%, like what's happening in Turkey, in Egypt, and whatever. There's some country in Sudan, the inflation was 268%, something like incredibly high percentage. So if you borrow £100 from Sudan, you need to come back with the 360. Who is going to do that? And people not. So they are not actually. This is why وَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهَ رَبَّهُ. There's a lot of ins and outs. It's not actually straightforward things, these loans. And the loans actually make people stand to success or bankruptcy. The market now rely on lending, and they cheat a lot of people who are not expert. Like all these future market, they sell you have to pay for, you can buy 100 ounces of gold and you pay only for 10. Providing you pay the rest within the next 3 months. But all the 90% left money, you pay interest on it as well. So first off, from the minute you pay interest, you don't do the transaction. One of the brothers who was youngster, he asked me about the foreign exchange. I said, you buy dollars, yes. How much you buy? You pay for 10%. What the rest? You pay leverage on it. That's haram. You shouldn't pay leverage. Leverage is interest. So he stopped. I mean, he could be, as a student, have £1,000. He could trade in the market because he could allow him to trade in 10,000s. And if the price goes up, you get 10 times more than your 1,000 will get. And so it's a bit tempting. But if you look into from the halal and haram, you don't start. If you start and then the market goes down and you're waiting it to go up so you could sell, you find that the 3 months passed. And I told you about last week about this guy in America. The petrol went minus $38. Minus. It's not like, went to zero. Went to zero, you lost your money, forget it and go. But you went to minus 38, you still have to pay, say now $13-14 million back to. So, ولا تكتموا الشهادة, also do not hide the witness, you don't deny the witness. ومن يكتمها فإنه آثم قلبه. Yes, you witness. This is where the witness has to be very expert. If you are, but they don't usually take witnesses. They market, they sell you, just they get you cash and they sell you. They don't check about you whether you can pay or have delivery. Or this is why a lot of people are losing money. I mean, there's a lot of people making money on the expense of the idiot who get themselves in the market. When during the corona, a lot of people sitting at home doing nothing, they start buying shares and they bought the shares and the shares went like £300 in America, $300. It went down to 160. So many of them lost half their money because they don't know how the market functions. Wallahu bima ta'maluna alim. So Allah Azza wa Jalla knows all what you do. I think these two ayahs in the Quran is actually must be like taken by the stock market, commodity market, future market, derivative market. The derivative market is all like, probably all will be banned in Islam. And Muslims have to address these issues.
So which market did you say would be banned?
Derivative market, the option market, and the future market. Banned the two things. One is, can you have delivery or not? Because this is where the petrol broke a lot of people. If you can't take delivery, if you buy like 100 ounce of gold and you pay for the 100 ounce of gold and the market goes up or down, if it goes down, you keep them, you paid for them. But what happened now? If you pay only for 10 ounces, you bought 100. Even if the market went down against you and you have to keep the gold, you can sell your house, sell your car, whatever, have delivery. 100 ounces of gold will not be too much. This is 30 kilograms. 30 grams each ounce, 31 grams each ounce. So 3 kilos, 30 kilos, yeah, 30 kilos. But if you buy 1,000 barrels of petrol, where are you going to have delivery? or grain or rice, so they don't teach these youngsters.
Oil, what happened with oil was all the reserves were full. That's why in the UK they started saying this thing about the oil. There's not enough petrol, and they made this whole media campaign. So people started filling up their tanks so they can get rid of all this old diesel.
To keep in the storage, you also pay money.
So the storage was full in the US and here. So there were companies that had oil on the sea, and they were trying to give it away.
One of the things I didn't know, that a lot of oil companies have tankers floating in the oceans, waiting for the price to go up. They don't want to sell it with any loss. They want to make more profit. So there's, I don't know how many thousands of big tankers floating in the oceans, sitting there for the price to go up, and then they sell you, deliver. So they don't deliver. It's like a storage in the sea.
They're holding it.
They're holding it, yeah. So there's a lot in the Quran to direct people about economy than what you could imagine. There's so many things. But Muslims happy to read the Quran in their prayer, and أفلا يتدبرون القرآن, don't they contemplate in the Quran, discuss it, but they don't.
In less sophisticated society where you don't have the good witnesses or every means of writing down things in a proper way, and then you have to get somebody to come from a different place to come there and witness it. So if he were to travel from wherever he's coming to this place, he's going to spend money. Who is going to be responsible for that money he's spending to come and witness that? Is this the person who loaned the money, or it is the...
It's all depends on the agreement between the two of them. If they need to go to the courts, in Syria we have they call it Katib al-Adl notary, office. You go there and you pay fees, you pay costs.
Yeah. I'm talking of places where they don't have those facilities.
Yeah, it depends on how you trust, what you're doing. Any more questions? Is that done? MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. Okay, we'll stop here, inshallah, and probably next week we will do double Risala Qushayriya and compensate. It's on mahabba, on loving Allah Azza wa Jalla, being loved by Allah. And how do you know you're loved by Allah?